Hi, I'm Craig Moody. The story you are about to hear is raw and often brutal. So is love. Welcome to the Prince of New York.
Chapter 6 Rocco. Not much was said once Prince and I reconnected. We went on as before. We fucked, we watched TV, we got drunk. I still got high on coke in the bathroom. He knew it, but this time he let it slide for a while. If he found my stash, he'd flush it. I wouldn't say a word. This went on for quite some time. Finally, he told me if he caught me with another bag, it was done. For real. Forever. For good. I didn't risk it, so I kept my coke habit at home and on the job. Coke didn't affect me at work. If anything, it made me more focused, faster, and far more alert. I was catching on to shit that I would have once overlooked or ignored. I caught a couple of guys on my route tweaking their income to avoid the appropriate interest charged by the family. After a few beatdowns, we got this back on track. It was around this time that the family started moving in the construction circles. First, we worked the unions. Most families did. I'm sure you are aware of the mob's history with that. But once the 80s rolled in, the 5 mob families basically ran the local unions. Millions were made during that decade's construction boom. It was a stroke of genius on behalf of the mob, but it was ultimately what led to the undoing. I later became heavily involved in the union aspect of our operation, but it took some time. Even as a higher-ranking soldier, I was still relegated to the streets. Running card games and taxing local restaurants and businesses for mob security and protection was my mainstay for many years. Still, it paid me well. Very well. I found I started to enjoy my time away from Prince more than the time we spent together. He had become very withdrawn and preoccupied. He was constantly on the phone, constantly giving directives, making decisions, or planning schemes. The telephone receiver was practically glued to his fucking head. There were times when I opted not to see him, or would visit but would leave once he started talking on the phone too much. He never said a word. I don't think he really noticed. Sometime in early 1976, I met a guy. We'll call him Rocco. He was sort of a dork, a nerd, you could say. He was Italian, but he wasn't connected to the business. He was smart, real smart. He was on track to become a lawyer or doctor or some shit. We met at the deli closest to my house. He only lived a block away from me, so we started hanging out once in a while. He made the first move. I didn't resist. I was so unhappy with Prince around that time that I just let it happen. Normally, I wouldn't have even allowed the situation to present itself, much less allow it to occur. We only messed around a bit that first night, but pretty soon we were fucking on the regular. I stopped seeing Prince altogether. He soon became suspicious. "Why haven't you been to see me?" he asked one night during an unexpected late-night phone call. I had been asleep. Rocco was in the bed beside me. "I've been busy," I said coldly, not caring to give away my true feelings on the matter. "Plus, you are always running your shits. You ain't got time for me. Maybe we should just give this thing a rest." Silence. "I miss you," he finally whispered. This melted my heart immediately. "Everything okay?" a voice croaked from just beside me. My heart skipped a beat. Silence on the other end of the line. "Who the fuck?" Prince grumbled before hanging up. "Get out," I said sternly, hanging up the phone and scrambling from the bed. "What? Why?" Rocco asked, confused. "Just do what I tell you. Get dressed. Go home. Now," I instructed. "What's going on?" Rocco asked, his voice now revealing his fear. "You can't be seen here. Hurry." The young man fumbled around, stumbling in the dark to find his clothing and shoes. I led him down a back stairway and into the alleyway behind my building. "Go straight to the corner and get your ass home," I directed him. "Don't make yourself obvious. Just get inside and lock your fucking door." I could see that the guy was completely freaked out, but he never asked any questions. He kissed me on the lips and moved swiftly down and out of the alley. I moved back toward the back entrance to my building. Prince was waiting inside my apartment when I returned. He was looking out the window. I knew right away that he had seen Rocco. He would have been the only person on the street at such an hour. I know he never made this thing exclusive or whatever, he began, his voice trembling slightly. But I won't be made to feel like a fool. What thing are you even referring to? I asked, trying my best not to sound nervous or tense. Prince turned to face me. His face was red. I could tell he had been crying. Do you love me? He asked directly, his voice cold and void of any emotion whatsoever. I stared. I didn't know what to say. I see, he said after I failed to reply. He moved past me and started for the door. Of course I fucking love you, I finally confessed. You know I do. I have for a long time now. But I can only take so much. I can only be hurt so much before something breaks. Prince glared at me before walking out the door and down the hall. I listened as his expensive leather shoes pounded down the staircase. I ran for the phone and dialed Rocco. Hello, he rasped. Get out of New York, I commanded. Now. Right now. Pack up some shit and go see your mom in Long Island. Don't fucking ask me why. Just fucking do what I tell you. I could hear him fumbling for words. Finally, he said simply, I gotta go. I think someone is at the door. Don't, I cried. But it was too late. He had already hung up. I ran down the stairs and out into the street into Rocco's building in record time. Prince was walking out the side entrance as I approached. His coat was open. I knew he had just used the pistol he always kept at his side. He dropped into the back of his black Cadillac and the driver hit the gas. I didn't bother going up to Rocco's apartment. I already knew what I would find. I was amazed at how Prince had been able to find him so quickly. I assumed he had seen Rocco enter the back of his building from my living room window. That much would have been visible from my place, but to scout which apartment he lived in a matter of minutes was baffling and incredible. I felt my knees begin to weaken and shake. I turned and ran back home. The next day, to my complete shock, Rocco called. I'm in Long Island, he said. Mom was surprised as hell. Do you think you can tell me now what all this was about? I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I later found out that a young man in Rocco's building had been shot, point blank, right between the eyes. I knew it was Prince who was responsible. He had shot the wrong guy. Thank God, but not really. An innocent person was murdered in cold blood because of me and my negligence. I was happy Prince hadn't gotten to Rocco, but it really fucked with me that someone had died nonetheless. I had planned not to say anything to Prince about it, but I couldn't resist. I called him about a week later and just went off. You killed a fucking innocent man, I raged into the phone. You're a fucking monster. I can't fucking believe you. You just walk willy-nilly into a building and shoot the first fucking man you see? Prince was silent. He never said a single word during the entire call. I hung up and stormed out of my apartment. I strolled the block to find the local news crew camped outside of Rocco's building. I asked them what they were there for. They mentioned something about the murder. Through them, I was able to get some family contact information for the young man who had been killed. I phoned the guy's family the following day. I didn't reveal my identity, but I arranged to pay for the funeral and all other expenses and costs surrounding the tragic loss of their family member. I believe I made these arrangements with the guy's sister. I didn't ask. She was wary of me at first, but when the money I wired hit their account, she called me to thank me profusely. Naturally, this garnered suspicion. 2 cops showed up at my door 3 days later. Can't a guy just do a good deed around here? I eventually asked after they had hassled me for about 15 minutes. I heard about what happened. It's only a block from here. The news guy told me the family was strapped for cash. I got a business. I ain't got no wife and kids. I can afford to help out. The cops stared at me silently. Look, fellas, you know how it goes around here. The guy was Italian. We look out for one another. You know that if I can help out a fellow family from the old country, I'm certainly gonna. My father raised me right. This seemed to appease them. I never saw or heard from them again, although I was certain that they were certain that what had gone down had been Mafia involved and connected. They just didn't know how or why. Rocco figured out what happened after he returned home a month or so later. "Am I safe here?" he asked me after I had confirmed his suspicions that someone connected to me had murdered his neighbor. I didn't so much as flat out confirm it. He knew enough to know that it had something to do with me. I told you he was a dork, very smart. I wasn't going to be able to lie to him about it. He assumed the killer was a scorned lover or ex-boyfriend of mine and that we were both connected to the mob. That freaked him out. He moved a week later, and I never saw or heard from him again.